I'm wondering if you've had the pleasure of experiencing unconditional positive regard. I know that certainly it can be a beautiful experience within a therapeutic relationship. And it is a term that was coined originally by Carl Rogers, a wonderful therapist who founded, originally called client-centered therapy, then moved on to person-centered therapy, which is under the humanist umbrella. As you may know, I am a huge fan of the therapeutic process that was introduced by Carl Jung. Psychodynamic theory dives deep, and that's something that works well for me. But I also enjoy other theoretical orientations as a therapist and certainly as a client. But not only that, when we experience something like empathy and unconditional positive regard and genuineness through the therapeutic process, it often spills out into our own lives. And that's what's most beautiful about it. At the end of the day, wouldn't it be wonderful if all our relationships afforded us the opportunity to have unconditional positive regard? It's a little harder in personal relationships because there's always a history there. There's always a little bit of fear, perhaps past trauma from other relationship issues, which is understandable. Creates a bit of jealousy, fear of losing the person, fear of their behaviors, which is understandable. Certainly none of us want to be hurt. But ultimately, if we looked at relationships from a higher level and where we allowed people to be who they truly are as they grow on their journey, it might be a little bit easier for them to accept their failings and to rise above any mistakes they've made and to learn. It's just all part of that beautiful process of being received unconditionally. So I wanted to read to you from this book, just a small little passage. It's called On Becoming a Person, and it's by Carl Rogers. It was written decades ago, but it's still beautiful. And if you want to, you can actually look him up on YouTube. There's a really cool series. It's called The Gloria Videos, and it's 3 different therapists, 3 different theoretical orientations working with this particular client. I think it's like from the 50s or 60s, but it's super cool to watch the different processes of each of these therapists, and Carl Rogers was among them. And when I watched those 3 videos, I always enjoyed the session he had with Gloria the best. I just loved the empathy and the caring and compassion that he exhibited. So let me read you a little bit from his words, and if you want to check this book out, you can certainly Google it and still purchase it today. If the therapy were optimal, intensive as well as extensive, then it would mean that the therapist has been able to enter into an intensely personal and subjective relationship with the client, relating not as a scientist to an object of study, not as a physician expecting to diagnose and cure, but as a person to a person. It would mean that the therapist feels this client to be a person of unconditional self-worth, of value, no matter what their condition, their behavior, or their feelings. It would mean that the therapist is genuine, hiding behind no defense facade, but meeting the client with the feelings which organically he is experiencing. It would mean that the therapist is able to let himself go in understanding this client, that no inner barriers keep him from sensing what it feels like to be the client at each moment of the relationship, and that he can convey something of empathetic understanding to the client. It means that the therapist has been comfortable in entering this relationship fully, without knowing cognitively where it will lead, satisfied with providing a climate which will permit the client the utmost freedom to become themselves. Definitely touch base more on unconditional positive regard and the work of Carl Rogers and person-centered therapy at another time. Love and support to you on your journey. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon.